Good evening. Hello guys, how you guys doing? Let me just adjust this a tiny bit. Cool. Good evening, Chris, Robert, Alexander, Dirt Frosting. Hello, welcome. Don't think we've met before. Manuel. Um, hey Mike. Anyone painting anything tonight? Unfortunately, I am not going to be painting anything. I hope you enjoyed my edge highlighting last night. How painful was that? I looked at it this morning. I was kind of happy with it, so takes me a whole evening to paint the legs of one Sangray Guard edge highlighting. Ugh. Oh. Death Company, rather. That's what I was doing last night. Alright, we got some lists to look at tonight. As always, on a Sunday, we're looking at lists. We got, like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lists we're going to look at. Syable, Bloodhog, Bruin Biscuits, Grim, Scion, Rain, I think, and then Lorenzo Ingenito. Good evening, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, cool, Syable, you're here in the chat. Okay. Yeah. Hope everyone's had a nice weekend. I keep meaning to. I've got this guy. I keep meaning to make him. I'll probably make him in a video. Let me see if you can see him. Inquisitor Ermus. I don't think I can even say his second name. Ursimus. He's the new limited edition. The new limited edition Inquisitor that they did. He comes on like a single sprue. So, and he's plastic. So I keep meaning to make this guy. I feel like some people... I expected more lists to include Inquisitors, actually. Right? We haven't actually seen that many people include Inquisitors. I think Reziel said he was thinking about Courtiers. Someone else said that they were thinking about Hector Rex, or someone said last night they were playing Hector Rex and having some good luck with him. And just so you know, this next week there's not going to be any live game on Wednesday. And there might be some extra videos at some random times this week. So I'm this weekend I'm seeing some family. Then I think next weekend I have a wedding. So I'm going to be intermittent. So if content's coming out different from normal times, bear with me. I'm doing my best. I've been filming like crazy, so I've got 4 videos that should still come out, even though I'm not here. I'd have to buy an Inquisitor to consider it. I have Courtiers. I think that's the only Inquisitor I own. And Courtiers is one where you can like you can mess with opponent's CP a little bit with Courtiers, and then sometimes you can even farm CP with him. So he's not a bad one. The 3 Grots mission series starts on Monday too, 9 episodes over the 3 weeks. Yes, we filmed 9 episodes for the 3 Grots. Maybe even... yeah, and then the 3 Grots have been pumping out content. Mark had his new video out yesterday. Tony had one about Null Noil today. So if you haven't subscribed yet to the 3 Grots, then please consider it. We're doing a lot of videos. We're building it. I assume most people that are watching the live show have subscribed to 3 Grots, but here we are. And yeah, so, I mean, like, this week we put up 3 videos. We're doing quite a bit of work on here. And we have a tournament video coming out this week as well, I think. How to prepare for tournaments, what you need to think about. So that should be a cool episode to watch as well. So find the subscribe button, hit it, it would be much appreciated. I'm going to put this link in chat for anyone in the catch-up or anything like that. Consider hitting us up on 3 Grots. Alright, tonight, looking at lists. Good evening as well, Mark. How you doing? Okay, so this is Syable, and he's going to take this list to his next tournament. He's starting on 2 CP, and he's on 2,000 points. He's running Astrath with Litany of Faith, so he's got Protection Against Mortals and Mantra of Strength, so giving Astrath that 4 damage weapon. What's the AP on Astrath's sword again? It's -3, is it? So, sword? Axe Astrath has. Yeah, it's -3. So strength 6, -3 damage. Or with Mantra of Strength 7, -3 damage. Okay. Alright, and he obviously gets Massive Doom as well for free because that's just like his one Blood Angel specific litany he gets for free, right? Like, you don't have to pick Massive Doom. Yeah, he knows Massive Doom, which is pretty cool, actually. Something that maybe I overlook a couple of times when we talk about Astrath. Okay, we've got a captain on a bike who's the chapter master. He's running Gifted Foresight. He's got an Infernal Pistol. He's got Rites of War. He's got Thunderhammer, and he's got Visage of Death. Okay, so you've got your chapter master set up as an objective flipper with Gift of Foresight. It's pretty good. It's 3 CP. I'm kind of... Because I was looking at my list this week, and 3 CP is a lot for this chapter master. I'm trying to decide if, like... If he is a lot more survivable than Dante, but like is he 3 CP more survivable? I think I'm gonna have to go. I think I'm gonna have to make another video, like literally compare Dante again against the chapter master with the more up to date rules, and try and decide. Because yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna have to, because I think the 3 CP for the captain on the bike now is so expensive. Like before, it was just 1 CP, so there's really only 2 CP difference between them. Now it's like 4 CP difference between them. It's a big jump. All right, and then we got the Sanguinary Priest, who has Icon of the Angel, and I think one of the things that I've been noticing is like, if you did one of my most successful lists was when I ran double Volcon Relic Contemptors, right? And the great thing about the Volcons is they throw out a bunch of mortal wounds, and they can throw out mortal wounds at 45 inches, so sometimes you can just outrange an enemy for the entire game just throwing mortals at them. And the one thing that the reason that you couldn't run them anymore is that they went up 20 points per Dreadnought, right? But then if you think about it, all your Sanguinary Guard squads came down over 20 points. Typically, if you're running like a 6-man or a couple of 6s, then that's your 20 points back anyway. So, an Armor of Contempt maybe hurt. Like, I guess Armor of Contempt hurt all the other Redemptor's weapons, right? Like, it hurt its Stormbolters, it hurt its Onslaught Cannon, it hurt its Rocket Pods. But I mean, Volcons were already 0 AP, so it kind of didn't really hurt them out with turn 1 anyway. So it's kind of interesting. I think I want to run a list maybe with Dante and a couple of Relic Contemptors with Volcons again, and maybe Cyclones on there. We'll see. I think it might be worth trying. Or maybe 1 Relic Contemptor with 2 Volcons and 1 with like a Cyclone, a Volcon, and a Drill or something. Good evening, Reziel. How you doing? Alright, so 2 Incurser squads and Infiltrator squad. I guess the Infiltrators... We've talked about these guys a lot. Sometimes I'm not sure I feel that they're needed. I guess I just scroll down to check. He does have a Whirlwind in this list as well, so maybe he doesn't need... He could maybe get away with 3 squads of Incursors, but, I mean, Infiltrators and a Whirlwind in the backfield make your backfield very secure. You've then got a Death Company with 3 Chainswords and 2 Thunderhammers. I would prefer to see more hammers in here for sure. I would personally lose an Incursor squad for another... I would swap out the Infiltrators for an Incursor squad for another hammer for sure. And I guess we're gonna see what else we got here. So we got a Redemptor Dreadnought with the Stormbolters, the Rocket Pods, the Macroplasma, and the Onslaught. And personally, I don't like 1 Redemptor. And the reason I don't like 1 Redemptor is that it's just 1 Plasma Cannon. If you roll a 1 on the number of shots, that totally sucks. You really don't want to be paying CP on re-rolling the number of hits, I feel like. That's one of the lowest value CPs you can spend. By having just a single Redemptor, you're maybe a little bit... you don't have enough weight of dice to combat like a bad roll, right? If you get 2 Redemptors, if you roll a 2 in the number of shots, you can be like, well, I can probably handle a 2 because my other Redemptor might roll like a 3 or a 4 and I still have a decent amount of shots. Whereas if you roll a 2 and you only have 1 Redemptor, I think that's really difficult because obviously there's a chance you re-roll into another 1 or a 2, right? So it's like a really low value CP. I don't like a single Redemptor. I think... I mean, yeah, maybe... I'm looking down here, you got another Dreadnought with a multi-melt and a Heavy Flamer, and it's a Venerable. Which is nice, I guess. 2 up Ballistic Skill is nice, slightly shorter range, etc, etc. We then have quite a big Sanguinary Guard here. There's just 2, 4, 6, 8. One Infernal Pistol. Sorry, 2 Infernal Pistols, some axes, and some swords. I don't think you ever need 8 Sanguinary Guard anymore. 7 should be absolutely fine. I guess he has another one that's also an 8, and maybe it's just because he has the 6 elite choices. He then has Lightning Claw, Storm Shield, Vanguard Veterans, which I guess are decent. I mean, they're still very survivable. The 4-up in Fun Save helps them a lot. He's got an Infernal Pistol in there as well. I kind of like having an Infernal Pistol or 2 in all the squads. I might try and run, again, like I would probably run one of these Vanguard Veterans with just like Chainsword and Bolt Pistol, because it would save you like 8 points or something. And like, I really think you want those 3 Thunderhammers on that Death Company. I think that's gonna... I think 4 is the optimal number of hammers on the Death Company. And then we've got the Venerable Dreadnought with a Heavy Flamer and the Whirlwind. Auspex Tactics did a video about when to use CP rerolling in the shooting phase. You get more benefit the later into the shooting of a weapon you are. What do you mean the later into the shooting of a weapon? Benefit. Relic Contemptor with 2 times Volkites is very useful. They are very useful. They're not the greatest for Blood Angels. Oh right, you get more benefit if you're re-rolling the damage roll first or the wound roll. I'm with you. Yeah, re-rolling the number of hits is a really low value CP, and it's one that you never want to use. So I don't like a single Redemptor. I think if you want to run Redemptors with macros, you have to run 2 of them. Volcon Contemptors, I guess, are maybe a little bit more viable for Blood Angels with all of our other points drops. Would more Sanguinary Guard or Death Company be better than Vanguard Veterans? I mean, Vanguard Veterans can perform actions, Death Company can't. Lightning Claws, although they don't have great AP into Armor of Contempt, they do have fine AP into everybody else. And if you're attacking, like, let's say Toughness 5 to 7, right? Yeah, Toughness 5 to 7 with Blood Angels, your Lightning Claws are actually really good because you're wounding on 4s because they're +1 to reroll to wound, and you're rerolling all your hits. So Lightning Claws into Toughness 5 to 7, you're wounding 75% of the time with Lightning Claws. And that's why we saw tons of people run Lightning Claws, because if we compare that to like Chain Swords on the Death Company, you might get like 1 more attack, but you'd only be wounding 50% of the time, you'd have less AP, and you'd have no rerolls. So the Lightning Claws are genuinely very, very useful. I think it's great that Sanguinary Guard and Death Company both dropped in points. I've actually dropped my Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans for more Sanguinary Guard. The tricky thing with Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans I find now is if you are fighting an enemy that has Armor of Contempt and they're only -1 on the Lightning Claws, then you almost have to like be prepared to chill for 2 turns, because anything you charge in turn 1 or 2 without Assault Doctrine, you aren't going to do much damage to them at all. And that's pretty much why I dropped them, because I felt like they did no damage, and it was probably just it was probably a bad play from me, but that's how I used to use them. I used to use my Lightning Claw Vanguard Veterans because I used to run some Thunderhammers in the squad. I used to push them in turn 1 and 2 as a durable unit that can do some damage. Well, they don't really do that much damage into Armor of Contempt turn 1 and 2, so that kind of messed up with my playstyle. Leviathan is usually just a distraction card effects. Leviathans are still cool. I like Leviathan Dreadnoughts. I think they're great. I mean, they do a lot of damage, and they're absolutely devastating in melee, right? And I guess if you are going to pop your Vanguard Veterans into Assault Doctrine, then they could be very useful into Armor of Contempt, or they could be useful into everybody else, right? Let me think for a second then. Anything else to say here? Yeah, I think 2 hammers on the Death Company is the wrong call. I if this was me, I'd probably lose one Vanguard, one Sanguinary Guard out of each squad to get that second Redemptor. I think that's possibly going to be better than the Venerable. I mean, what's the Venerable have? Does he have Feel No Pain as well as a 2-up ballistic skill? Venerable. Yeah, he has a 6-up Feel No Pain. Okay, so he kind of has like 9 and a third wounds then. And he does have that 2-up weapon skill. Yeah, then the Venerable's fine, I guess. Just, my problem is having the single Redemptor. You're gonna just don't re-roll the plasma number of shots, which is kind of the weak part. The Venerable doesn't degrade as well. Yeah, so a couple of Dreadnoughts, 2 Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, Vanguard Veterans, Infiltrators and Cursors, the Priest, the Captain, and Astaroth. Like, yeah, I like most of it. I really want, like, you need a third hammer in the Death Company. I don't think 2 is ever going to be enough. So I think you need to find 15 points to get that third hammer. You could lose like low value things like what's low value. The rocket pods feels pretty low value now. The infiltrators could possibly be switched out to incursors. You could drop an infernal pistol here or something, or maybe you have to drop 1 sanguinary guard and do a bit of jiggery. I mean, if you drop 1 Sanguinary Guard, that gives you enough for 2 more Thunderhammers. That's what I would do, actually. Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd run an 8 and a 7 on your Sanguinary Guard and run 4 hammers. I think that's the best way to run the Death Company right now. I don't know if you watched my video on Friday. But yeah, or you could swap out 1 Infiltrator squad for the Incursors and get 1 more hammer. But then I think I prefer having 4 hammers. Greetings, Highland Phoenix. How you doing? Greetings, James. Nice to see you. The Cyclonic Melt Alliance plus Siege Drill for Liverathan. I'd prefer the Gravflux, I think, because it's cheap, right? I forget how many points the Cyclotic Lance has, but there's a problem with the Cyclotic Lance because you can barely ever fire it. Well, yeah, 20 points for heavy sick. It's got the same problem as the Plasma. Heavy 2d3 is like, just, to me, it feels so much better than heavy d6. And flat 3 damage against anything with a 3+ save is actually pretty good, and more range. I prefer the Glavflux. 20 points. The Cyclonic Melt Lance probably only needed to be like 10 points or something like that. I mean, we could argue that all day. Anyway. Anything else to say about this list? I like Icon of the Angel and the Priest. I like Astaroth the way he is. The Bite Captain seems expensive. We're going to have to dive into that more in the near future. And yeah, a couple of Infernal Pistols in each squad is absolutely fine. Yeah, the main problem is your Thunderhammers, and I guess your Infiltrators are probably a low value pick, but I guess if you think that you're holding, if they're going to let you hold the backfield super securely, then maybe they can be a high value pick. I like that they're all full boss, so that's going to give you a lot of ways to get around the board for something like Nakmund or something else, and 2 CPs maybe borderline as low as you can go. But overall, I think it's a decent list. Because I guess 2 CP means if you spend 1 CP on the Forlorn Fury, I'm just not convinced 2 Thunderhammers does enough work to justify spending the 1 CP. So I think you need 4 Thunderhammers. He could drop some 3 Infernal Pistols, Sanguinary Guard, that's enough for 1 hammer. Yeah, I think I would drop 1 Sanguinary Guard though, and just put 2 more hammers in. I really think 4 hammers is the best way. I do think that's best. Okay. Any other questions? Syable, you can let me know. I saw Bruin Biscuits in chat, so let's look at his list next. I like a good 3 to 5 Infernal Pistols in my Sanguinary Guard. Hit on 2s, reroll 1s, can be used in close combat. Yeah, I mean, I probably run less Infernal Pistols than most people, but I do think Infernal Pistols are very valuable on Sangard and Death Company. Maybe at some point I'll magnetize a bunch more arms and we'll get more. Cool, alright. Bruin biscuits. Decided to submit a list for Nephilim. I wanted to submit a list that I've been theory crafting around secondaries, and that was a little different to all the ones submitted recently. My secondaries are Blade of Sanguinius or Assassinate, using Astrath or Mephiston as the hunters. The second is Relentless Assault, using Assault Squad's Deep Striking turn 2s and 3s. The third is Retrieve Nakman Data or Raise Banners, depending on the opponent. Both Assault Squad and Cursors for Nakman Data, or then Cursors doing banners, or at least 2 or 3 objectives. I decided to bring Astaroth, Dante, and Mephiston and the Priest to provide many buffs as possible. Mephiston, Dante, and the Priest buff the 5-man Death Company for maximum hurt if I go first. Sanguinary Priest gives mortal wound protection, obsec, and revives to the Sanguinary Guard. Consulist, I offer a lot of points for assassination and no prisoners, but this is only if my opponent tables me. I mean, yeah, you have to be aware that, I mean, some armies occasionally table you. Alright, so 6 CP on this patrol detachment. Mephiston, Quickening, Unleash Rage, and Wings. I prefer Blood Boil. I feel like Mephiston's sword is kind of unreliable. Usually the way I play Mephiston is you fly and you unleash rage, right? So Quickening feels like you're rarely going to cast it. The reason that I like Blood Boil is because it's a targeted smite. Imagine you've got a squad of Sanguinary Guard that locked up with like one model and you really want them out of combat. Being able to target that one model with Blood Boil, do a mortal to it or something and break them out of combat can be super valuable. So that's why I think Blood Boil is a good pick over Quickening. But I mean, Quickening is the way that you're going to do the most damage with them potentially, so I understand it. We also have Warlord trait on Dante and its Heroic Bearing to get that 9-inch aura. We got 1 squad of Incursors. We got 7-man Sanguinary Guard, all swords. We got another 7-man Sanguinary Guard, all swords. We got a 6-man jump pack Assault Marine squad with double Meltas and 2 lightning claws.
Lorenzo Cigarolino donated €5 via Super Chat. Breakfast in Scotland. Elaborate, please. P.
Breakfast in Scotland. Elaborate, please. What, you want to know what I eat for breakfast or what a Scottish breakfast is? Did I mention breakfast in the stream? I don't think so. Thank you so much for the €5. Elaborate on what you want. So a double Melta, 3 with chain swords, and the sergeant with a couple of lightning claws, and then the assault squad with double Melta. Yeah, so it's 2 6-man assault squads. Whatever. I mean, I'm on a bit of a health kick, Lorenzo. So I tend to eat like granola for breakfast, so it's really boring. But I mean, like a Scottish breakfast, like a proper Scottish breakfast should look something like that. And this is a couple of sausages. This is what we call square sausage. So it's basically Scottish meat, sausage meat, but it's just square. These are potato scones. So they're like, I actually don't know, but I think it's potato squashed and then almost made into like a cake. Baked beans, eggs. This will be haggis, and then that'll be black pudding, and then there'll be bacon, and then there'll be grilled tomato, and then there'll be toast. And yeah, I mean, like if you came to my house, I would make like if we were going somewhere like if we were going hiking up a hill or something, I would make this. Potato scone sounds a lot like a Scottish hash brown. Yeah, probably. It's not quite as crunchy as hash brown, but I guess it's similar sort of fluffy potato inside. Funny thing is, last time I made this, I did actually climb a hill that was like 1,200 meters high. Like, let's say like 2 hours after I made this, I was going on a hike, and I pretty much threw it back up into my mouth. I was this close to like spewing the whole thing back up because I made loads thinking everybody would want it, but nobody wanted it because we're all hiking up this hill and everybody thought that they would be like, would a lighter breakfast would be better. So I ate loads of this and then almost spewed it. So I haven't had Scottish breakfast in a while, but now I eat granola. But yeah, square sausage and haggis, 2 things if you've never had, you need to get. And I would drown this whole thing in red sauce or tomato ketchup because, I mean, what here cannot go with ketchup? Literally everything. Potato scones, bacon, haggis, hash brown, square sausage, regular sausages, drown it all in ketchup. Some people would do brown sauce. I prefer ketchup. Alright, back to Bruin Biscuits list. 2 7 Sangre Guards, all swords. 2 Assault Squads. Then Cursors, Dante Mephiston, Astaroth with Mantra of Strength, Canticle to give us the smaller charges, the Priest with Rites of War, which I think is a good pick on the Priest, because that gives you some obsec, another squad of Incursors, 5 Death Company, all with hammers, and then 8 Death Company with a bunch of power swords and infernal pistols and hammers, and then Whirlwind. Okay, cool. I prefer ketchup because it's red. Yeah, maybe I'm a true blood angel. No, I mean I just love ketchup. The more I like cheap ketchup though. I don't want any of your Heinz ketchup. I want like the cheapest, nastiest ketchup. You know, the ketchup that almost tastes like they've diluted it with vinegar. That's what I want. So really maybe I just love salt and vinegar. So like it's like cheap nasty ketchup. That's it's got yeah, cheap nasty ketchup is the way forward, right? Let's check. What would people have on breakfast? I think it's going to be tomato sauce that's the winner. We'll find out. Ketchup in the US is all sugar. Oh, do you know what? I've had that ketchup before. I don't want that. I want maple syrup. Nah, I don't know if I'd put maple syrup on that. Okay, good evening, Mac. How you doing? Maple syrup on pancakes for breakfast would work. You know, I've been to IHOP in America a few times, and I like pancakes for breakfast. But yeah, I mean, I'm one of these people that always has to watch what I eat. All right, so double Death Company, double Sangre Guard, double Assault Squad. That's the gist of the list. Oh, double Incursor. This is kind of funny. So he's got 2 Incursors, 2 Death Companies, 2 Sangre Guards, 2 Assault Squads, the Whirlwind, and then the 4 characters. So yeah, you said yourself, you know 4 characters opens up the doors for assassination, which isn't brilliant. You also know that this list is going to give away a lot of points for no prisoners. I guess 10, 20, what's this, like up to 38. And these are 2 6s, so like 62, and then these are 2 7s, so that's another 28. 62, 28, 90. So you're giving up 12 points for no prisoners. So you're giving up 13 for assassinate, 12 for no prisoners. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to make it a bit easier for your opponents to pick against you. Whoa, it's pretty close. 53% tomato sauce. I'm looking forward to breakfast. Yeah, Mark, when you come to Scotland, we'll make breakfast, don't worry. Hot sauce and eggs, says B. Hendry. I don't know if I've ever had hot sauce on eggs. I like scrambled eggs. Would you put hot sauce on scrambled eggs? I really want to like Astaroth, but I hate how he can't have the wise orator. Yeah, I mean, I really think that they should make an addendum to the codex where like your named characters can have the equivalent chapter upgrade. So like Astaroth could be the wise orator, Dante could have master of the codex. Like let them keep the like canon one that they've always had, but let them also take one from like those chapter master upgrades. I think that would be very cool. Assault Sergeant can't take dual lightning claws. What can he take? Like 1 lightning claw and an infernal pistol or something? That would be the way to go. Don't forget to like the stream as well. Hot sauce and scrambled eggs. On scrambled eggs, absolutely. Okay, we could do that. Hot sauce on scrambled eggs. Has to be brown. Weirdos pick ketchup for a Scottish breakfast. Oh, ketchup's winning. Okay. I'm gonna have to set a picture next time I make some breakfast of how much I drown shit in ketchup. Okay. Yeah, so Blood Boil might be a good pick here. How many CP has this got in total? So it's 3, so it seems decent. I actually like this big squad of Infernal Pistol, Power Sword, Thunderhammers, Death Company. What I don't like about your list is that you're basically like 100% melee. And that in itself can be tricky right now. Like if you think of Abaddon or Catan, because Necrons are coming back with a vengeance, you can't really kill them well, you just can't kill. Like, it's going to take you basically, at best, a turn and a half to kill Abaddon. And whereas, like, sometimes you basically need to be able to kill him quicker than that, because of the 3 wounds per phase stuff. We see a lot of top players ignoring the fact, just going like, fuck it, Blood Angels are stronger when they're all melee, so we'll just go all melee. I guess you do have enough Infernal Pistols. You could jump in, you could try an Infernal Pistol Abaddon, you could try and smite him with Mephiston, but it's a big risk, I guess. So, I mean, by having that number of Melt-A-Guns and Infernal Pistols, you maybe have alleviated the risk a little bit, but it's still risky. And I guess this is why, like, some Blood Angels players, myself, for example, like, I think I'm falling back towards the idea of, like, I want to run a couple of Dreadnoughts in my list. I think that helps me diversify if there's a target or there's a problem that I can't deal with melee. And sometimes the enemy can screen you. You know, in this game I had this week against Eldar, I couldn't get anywhere near his D-cannons. There was fucking Eldar shit everywhere all over the board. So I just had to get shot for like an entire game by D-cannons, and D-cannons are strength 12, -4, D6 plus 2 damage. They just wrecked me. He didn't even have that many D-cannons. He had like 2 of them. So if someone had like 4 D-cannons or 6 D-cannons and he screens them, if you're all melee, you're going to have a pretty bad day against that. I believe he can take 2 lightning claws. I haven't looked too heavily at Assault Squad. If your chapter has a named character that's supposed to be the head of librarian chapter, they should just get a +1 to cast. I mean, that's another thing that would be cool. I got a bunch of secondhand Blood Angels from a friend, but I have no clue what I've got. Well, join our Discord in the video description, and you can probably post some pictures, and we'll have a look at it. We were talking about breakfast when the poll went up. What would people have on breakfast? What would you have on breakfast, Mr. Knight? Having a plan to deal with Abaddon does not necessarily mean you need to be able to kill him in one turn or even at all. Just, you're going to win when he's in your enemy's army. Yeah, I mean, I had that game a little while ago against Necrons where he took 2 Catan, and I had a hell of a time into that as well. And I mean, this list feels better than some of the other all melee lists. Like, I tried to run all melee list at a tournament recently. It was all melee by bar 1 squad of Eradicators, and on one of the maps that we played, the terrain was really sparse, and I really struggled with it. So going all melee, you're reliant 100% on terrain. You could have some problems into armies that are going to like make you fight last and do shenanigans like that. And then you could have some problems into models that you need to kill across multiple phases. You do have a decent amount of Infernal Pistols and Melt-A-Guns here. And I do like the double Assault Squad, and it sounds like you have an okay amount of CP. I guess you just have to be aware that this list does have some weaknesses. And, but I mean, in theory, most of the things make sense. I'm not a huge Blade of Sanguinius fan myself, but I mean, Astaroth can definitely dish out some damage, and Mephiston can too, and your Squad of Sangre Guard can too as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's a decent list. Bruin Biscuits. Was there any question you had on it? Was there something you needed to change? Camille says, "Hi, John was away for the last 90 days. What's the BA stat?" What do you mean, what's the BA stat, Camille? Welcome back. Thank you so much for being a member for 16 months. It is really appreciated. Is holidays not an option? Afraid not. We were talking about brown sauce and ketchup. I ran a double Leviathan list with Dante to help offset the CP. Boy, was that hard for the Chaos Space Marines to deal with. Do you know what? I don't have double Leviathan, but I bet it would be pretty cool. Did you run Tech Marine with them as well, James, or you just accepted that they profile them a bit? When I played against my friends at Abaddon, I spent most of the time keeping my distance. Yeah, that's how I played against Abaddon as well. I guess it depends on how good a player your opponent is if they're playing Abaddon, right? If the Gladiator Reaper was 20 points less, I'd consider it. What's the status? I mean, Blood Angels are better than they were. Chapter Approved Nephilim has helped. Dropped the Sangre Guard in points, dropped the Death Company in points. gave us Armor of Contempt. I guess you maybe even missed Armor of Contempt. That probably came out like 3 months ago now, maybe. Dante and 2 Primaris Tech Marines. Okay, interesting list. I mean, Primaris Tech Marines are fine, I guess. If you're happy to hang on for a couple of turns till you get to Assault Doctor, and yeah. They should really get rid of the 1 CP tax for relics. I guess that's something that they're trying now. I haven't updated the win streak in a while, Highland Phoenix. I got crushed on Wednesday night last week. Absolutely crushed. I fought Eldar and had to fight last for the entire game, and it absolutely destroyed me. And I guess that's, my naivety of playing Eldar. I did know he had a couple of fight lasts. I definitely didn't know he had 3. I tried to deal with one of them and then I failed like a 4-inch charge. So, I mean, that sucks. But once he had 3 fight lasts going, I couldn't get going in that game. It was near impossible. So, a list... Do you know what? The only other thing I might change, actually, Bruin Biscuit, is rather have 5 Infernal Pistols in this one squad. I might split, like, 1 or 2 across the Sangre Guard squads as well. Because this means every unit is very... I mean, they're not that expensive, I guess, like... But I think that with 3 Thunderhammers, 5 Power Swords, and 5 Infernal Pistols, you're probably overkilling most things, right? I'm curious if they release more Horus Heresy plastic kits, if they want people to buy them for 40k and remove the CP tax. I don't know what their plan is for more Horus Heresy kits, but I think it's cool that the new models are much cheaper. Like Leviathan Dreadnought's almost half the price it used to be. I don't know if you have Tabasco sauce in the UK, but it's extra spicy and vinegar. We do have Tabasco sauce. Franken Texas Pete are mild red sauces. I've never heard of Franken Texas Pete, but I guess more people prefer tomato sauce in the morning. Good evening, James. How you doing? Brown sauce is too vinegary for me. I mean, I should like it. I love vinegar. Maybe some eliminators. The ranged, adding some range to your list is really difficult right now for Blood Angels. I think attack bikes are maybe an option with multi-meltas. Eradicators are maybe an option. Eliminators are maybe an option, or dreadnoughts are your options. And I think you have to kind of work around those. But I think there's a balance there. Like if you only take like, let's say, because I ran like a single squad of Eradicators, just 3 Eradicators with metal guns. It felt like it was kind of worthless. Like it just, it had like, for example, I remember I was playing against an enemy that had a dreadnought, and I shot my squad of Eradicators at them. Let's say I hit like enough. I hit and wounded a couple of times, and then he failed to save, and then I rolled my d6 and I did 5 damage. I mean, it's great. I did 5 damage to a dreadnought, but like if it's just 1 unit of fire support, then you're never going to kill anything, right? Why are we talking sauce? Because someone asked what to have for breakfast in Scotland. I was saying that this is a Scottish breakfast, and I would smother it in red sauce. But apparently that's now very controversial. My food choices are controversial. I mean, it's probably as controversial as saying, do people have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the morning? I actually like tea, but like I was thinking about this a little while ago. I've drunk coffee for like probably like 20 years now. Maybe not 20, but like 15. So like I like tea, but honestly haven't had a cup of tea in like 15 years, maybe. I think I kind of remember what it tastes like, because I do like it, but I just always go for coffee. That's strange though, right? To be like, here's a food that you like, but you haven't had it in 15 years. I normally go for coffee in the morning. Yeah, coffee seems to be the thing, doesn't it? So yeah, this is a cool list, Brew. It's really hard to improve a list like this because, yeah, you kind of already told me, that you're giving away too many points in Assassinate, you're giving away too many points in No Prisoners, and then you're kind of in that all melee situation. So if you're happy to play in that situation, go for it. my thought right now is like, and I've been running a couple of Redemptors. I don't think it's optimal. I haven't loved it, but I did get two pretty solid wins with it. So a double Dreadnought list with one less character prevents a good score against no prisoners, it prevents a good score against assassinate, and it gives you a bit of fire support. It's decent. Is it perfect? Probably not, right? Alright, let's move on to Bloodhog. He just made a new, I assume he means list, and I would say, oh, I just made a new, and I would say interesting list. Sorry, okay. Combination of Blood Angels and Knights. As you will see, I hope you can review the list, and that will be interesting to you. Alright, cool. Thank you for submitting it. So we're going to have a Knight in here. I want to see what Knight we have first. We have a super heavy Imperial Knight. We haven't really seen anyone submit a list with a Knight in it. And I'm going to have to go read the oath. Oh, someone's going to have to help me with this. Mark, are you in the channel? Let's see what this Knight can do. Hold on, let me find my Knight Codex. So it's the Castellan, which of course is the awesome Knight. And he's allowed... Well, I say it's the awesome. It's kind of the one that does the most firepower out of all the Knights, right? You're allowed to pick one oath, if I remember this correctly. Yes, you can pick one oath. He's got Defender of the Realm. Where's this oath stuff in the Knight book? I literally used this book that one time to make the video with the 3 grots, and then haven't really used it since then. I think the thing that scares me of using the Knights is the 3 CP cost. First drink of the day, coffee or tea? It's a good question. For me, it's coffee. Oh, is it? It's a trait. Is that what it is? You get to pick one trait. Sorry. It's a... No, it's the tradition. That's what it is. So where's this tradition? Martial tradition, machine focus. Alright, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Machine focus. Each time a model with this martial tradition is selected to shoot, you can reroll either 1 wound or 1 damage roll. Okay, that makes total sense when you have this Knight, because this is the one... Do you know what? I'll bring it up on Wikipedia. I just had to bring up the machine focus because it's been a little while. Yeah, so, I mean, he's written down oaths and stuff like that. It's all kind of irrelevant. All you get to do is pick your tradition. So you can reroll 1 wound or 1 damage roll. And it's the cast one. Here it is. Okay, what's he got it armed with? 2 twin Siegebreaker cannons, 2 Shieldbreaker missiles, and then the 2 twin Siegebreaker cannons. Okay, so yeah, he's paid extra for the basically heavy 2d3, strength 7 -1, 2 damage. He's got 2 Shieldbreaker missiles, that's the ones that can't take invulnerable saves against, strength 10 -4, 48-inch range, 36 range. It's then got the Volcano Lance, which is insane, d6 plus 8 damage, strength 16 -5. Heavy D3, and it's got something else, has it? Plasma Decimator. Oh yeah, and it's got a heavy 2d6, basically heavy 2d6 version of the Redemptor Dreadnoughts. I mean, the Castellan's awesome. I think if you were gonna run a Knight as like, if we agree that Blood Angels are missing a bit of fire support, then the Knight Castellan's a brilliant set of fire support, right? Okay, so he's got the Castellan. That's going to cost basically 3 CP to include it. I mean, the way you could include the Castellan maybe a little bit better now would be to run Dante, right? John, how about 2 Eliminators with a Dread? Should that be enough fire support? I think if the Eliminators are running Las Fusils, that would be pretty decent. What Dread are you thinking, Camille? Do you have Black Pudding? On that as standard. Yeah, I love black pudding actually. If I go to the fish and chip shop, I never have fish. I I could be wrong here, but I think white fish is kind of tasteless or bland. I mean, some people love fish, but I would always have a battered black pudding. And then again, I would have it with ketchup because I'm weird. Is it now 1 CP for the super heavy? Only if you share the keyword, Mike. So it would only be like actual Blood Angel super heavy, like your Falchion, like your Fellblade, like your Astreus. For Imperial Knights, you're spending 3 CP to get that. A Redemptor, I mean, a Redemptor positioned well in like turn 1, where you could use like Wisdom of the Ancient to give those eliminators. Yeah, battered bat pudding with ketchup. Is that not something you would have, Mark? Because that's what I get every single time I go to the chip shop here. Yeah, I mean it's not the healthiest option, right? That's why I have granola for breakfast. How dare you besmirch the sacred smoked cod? Yeah, I'm not a fan of whitefish, man. I like salmon and trout and stuff, but whitefish is. Any thoughts on the Kratos? I made a video on the Kratos, Patrick. Actually, I forget what the video was called. Probably if you go to YouTube. I guess that's what happens when I make a new video every week. Probably if you go to YouTube and just search Kratos Blood Angels. If my video is not first, I'm going to be very upset. Yeah, there it is. My video is first. I think the Kratos is decent. The one weakness I think it probably has is it's got 18 wounds, so you can never obscure it. But beyond that, I kind of like the Kratos. Are you hungry? Not really, but this it seems like everybody's talking about food tonight. Battered black pudding, that's the first you've ever heard of it. We do battered haggis as well. And sometimes sometimes we do haggis balls. So you could go to the fish shop and you could get battered black pudding with chips, and then you could get a side of battered haggis balls. Yeah, you're going to make me hungry, I suppose, if we keep talking about it. I thought it was 0 CP for a Blood Angel Super Heavy. No, I think it's just... Oh yeah, it would be 0 CP for a Blood Angel Super Heavy, yet and 1 CP for Martial Legacy, Mike, you're right. Yeah, so everybody goes for a fish supper and I get battered black pudding. Okay, let's have a look at this Bloodhog's list. So he's got Speed of the Primarch as a choice for this captain, which seems like a low value pick. And we've got Gift of Foresight, Infernal Pistol, and the Thunderhammer. And the hammer is Relic of Baal. It's the Hammer of Baal. He's 1 CP wrong here because he's got 2 Warlord traits and a relic, so technically that should actually be -3 on his CP cost. This might break his list, I guess. I actually think that he's maybe made this using an old version of Battlescribe because he's definitely got too many starting CP. Okay, but yeah, so the captain on a bike, I wouldn't take Speed of the Primarch. I think you're fine with Gift of Foresight and Hammer of Baal, and he's basically a Chapter Master, but Chapter Master Smash Captain. We then have a Librarian with Null Zone and a Jump Pack. He can have 1 more power. You can have 2 powers on a Librarian with a Jump Pack. The other power I'd probably take is either Veil of Time or Mighty Heroes. Mighty Heroes would be pretty good on this captain, right? It would give him an additional attack. It would give him 1 more strength, so he's on strength 9. And it would give him toughness 6. I'm new to Blood Angels and your channel came highly recommended. I'm going to try them out in RTT on the 20th, planning on bringing a Kratos, a Whirlwind, 2 Redemptors for my fire support. I mean, that's a lot of fire support. Possibly a little bit more than we would normally see, because that's what, 2 Redemptors is like just shy of 400 points. A Whirlwind would put you at like 520, 530 or something. The Kratos is like 300 something, 800. It's a lot of fire support, Patrick. It might actually be a little bit too much for Blood Angels. I mean, the best thing in Blood Angels at the moment is really Sanguinary Guard and Death Company in melee. But it isn't bad to have like 500 points of fire support. But you know, try it out and see. How many squads of Sanguinary Guard and stuff are you running? We got the Sanguinary Priest, who is the chief apothecary, and he's been given the armor Indomitus. He is also the selfless healer. Yeah, this list is kind of already used up all his CP already, so he must have Bloodhog. This list was definitely like submitted in this last week, so he's maybe not using the Nephilim CP cost yet. Assault Intercessors times and Cursors times 2, Sanguinary Guard 2 times 5, and then a Terminator squad with 3 Thunderhammers and 2 Lightning Claws, and then the Whirlwind. Okay, so I mean, the battalion part of it overall is fine. When you run a 600 point knight, you're going to have to make some compromises. I'd also run the cheaper turret on the Whirlwind, because the reason... I actually don't even know if you need the Whirlwind if you're running a Castellan, because... the Whirlwind, the fight last, I think, is important. But if you've got something like when I used to run my super heavy, the Falchion, I didn't run a Whirlwind. I think there's a trade-off there. I think if you're really heavy into melee, you need the Whirlwind, because you need to be able to dictate who fights first and stuff like that. If you've got like a 600 point knight that can just bring up that much shooting, I actually kind of feel like you maybe don't need a Whirlwind as much. And even if you did, I would definitely put the cheaper launcher on the Whirlwind, because I don't think the Vengeance launcher is the best pick right now. I'd lose speed of the Primarch on the Captain. That would fix you starting the game on 0 CP, which I don't really like. I've been saying I think you want to be aiming to start the game on 2 CP, so maybe you would have to lose something else, maybe Selfless Healer or Armor Indomitus. Actually, you've got Selfless Healer and Armor Indomitus. Sorry, this is -2. Yeah, you're way over. The changes for CP costs, you're way over here, Bloodhog. So you need to lose, like, you want to start on 2 CPs. So if you're going to take the Knight, you can almost just spend 1 CP. Maybe you can spend 2. It's really close. Your troops are fine. I don't like 5-man squads of Sanguinary Guard. I think they're too small. I mean, they're okay, and I prefer them to be bigger. And the Terminator squad with Thunderhammers and Lightning Claws, I mean, they're very good. The Terminators are very durable. Good unit for behind enemy lines or something, because you can just drop them, or even Oath of Moment, you can drop them in the middle and just let them survive. How do I feel about them in Nephilim? I mean, I think they're a strong, durable unit. They're slow, but I don't dislike them, and they're a great unit for Blood Angels in close combat. If you got them in Teleport Strike, you're probably going to want to hold them till turn 3, maybe in turn 2, because they're going to benefit a lot from the extra attacks in Assault Doctrine. Without them, they're kind of average. They need to be in Assault Doctrine. If you watch my video I did just this week past, Assault Doctrine improves the Death Company's damage by like 87%, and I feel like these guys will get a lot of benefit from the Assault Doctrine as well, because like your Sergeant's going to have like 3 attacks, and other guys have 2. So a couple of Lightning Claws there gives them 4. So Assault Doctrine essentially gives them 50% more hits with the Lightning Claws and like 66% more hits with the Thunderhammers, kind of. So I guess you would get 1 for charging, but yeah, so maybe Assault Doctrine is giving you like 25% more hits with Lightning Claws, 33% more hits with Thunderhammers, but then you're getting 1 more EP, which I think is really important. Especially into Armor of Contempt models, it's going to be huge. These guys into Armor of Contempt without Assault Doctrine, like the enemies are saving on 4s, which into Power Armor, which is pretty bad. But, I mean, I think a list like this can do fine. Because it makes it very difficult for your opponent, right? Assuming like your troops are going to hold some objectives, your characters are going to do some harassment, the Castellan's just going to shoot every turn that's going to need to be dealt with. And if it's being dealt with, maybe your opponent can't deal with the Sanguinary Guard and the Terminators. I really do think you don't need the Whirlwind if you've got the Castellan, though. I'd drop it and probably put like 2 more Sanguinary Guard into both squads. Thank you so much for subscribing there. Patrick, do appreciate it. Patrick says 2x5 Sanguinary Guard, 5 Axes, 5 Swords, a Sanguinary Priest, Sanguinary Ancient, Dante, Mephiston, 1 Incursors, 2 Assault Intercessors for the rest of the list. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. it seems a little bit light on, like, our best units right now are probably Sangre Guard and Death Company. I'm running 20 Sangre Guard? No, 19 Sangre Guard and 5 Death Company. And I've got a decent amount of fire support in my list. I've got like over 500 points. So maybe play your tournament, enjoy your tournament, good luck, and then maybe come back and think about dropping one of those fire support units, Patrick, for something a bit more melee orientated. It can be Death Company, it can be Terminators, it can be Vanguard Veterans, anything that can basically smash. I mean, some people do Centurions, but I don't like Centurions. I think they're a bit slow. That's the first time someone said Thousand Suns were easy to paint. Why? I missed that. Michael's hoping that the Vindicator matches the Chaos Codex. Yeah, it sounds like the Vindicator got a big buff in the Chaos Codex. Turn 2 down and then Homer for later turns in the mobility. Yeah, I mean, that's true as well, Highland Phoenix. Just into Armor of Contempt enemies. Terminators without Assault Doctrine are going to be pretty slow. Not pretty slow, pretty crap, I mean, damage-wise. Okay, Lorenzo, good evening. Thank you so much for the €5 earlier, and let's get into your list. Sorry, I just heard a baby cry, and I was looking at the baby monitor. It's not this baby. The other baby's crying. Okay. I need your opinion on a 1,000-point list I'm going to use in my next games. I'm a bit of a strategy starter, and I thank you in advance for any advice you give me for Sanguinius and the Emperor. Absolutely. It's good to get the... I didn't know this was a 1,000-point list before we started, so it's good to get one on the stream. People have been asking me about 1,000-point lists recently, actually. So let's have a look. And sometimes you have to think a little bit differently in 1,000 points, because the map is smaller, and I think units can end up being quite a bit more valuable in case you lose them or whatnot. So, okay. So you're starting on 1 CP. You've got a Chapter Master who is Angel's Artifice, an Infernal Pistol, and a Relic Blade. Is that right? Why is you spent 2 CP? Chapter Master, Relic Blade, Warlord trait. You didn't write down his Warlord. What's the Chapter Master's Warlord trait, Lorenzo? And then you've got the Sanguinary Priest, who is just as he comes with a jump pack. Assault Intercessor Squad with a Plasma Pistol and Power Sword on the Sergeant. Death Company with 4 hammers and an Infernal Pistol. Sanguinary Guard with 2 Infernals, 4 swords and 2 axes. Double Attack Bike with Multi-Melta. Eliminator with Las Fusel and the Bolt Carbine. Eliminator with Las Fusel and the Bolt Carbine. Okay, Mastercraft the Relic Blade. Ah, okay. Did it say that? No. Okay. So it's a 3 damage sword. Okay. First off, I would change out Angel's Artificer for Oh, this is a different Lorenzo. My bad. Ah. So hold on. Was the super chat from... the super... Okay, so this is a different Lorenzo. Okay. Then there's been 2 Lorenzos in chat before, and I didn't realize you guys had different last names. Do you know what? James Fisher, since he just spoke in chat as well, he confused me as well, because there's like 3 Jameses. And I never hear your voices or see your faces, so I guess it can confuse me. Okay. Alright. That's fine. So Lorenzo isn't in chat. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Alright, so for this 1,000-point list, I actually think it's kind of interesting, right? 2 Eliminator squads. That gives you quite a bit of board presence, concealment, positioning for objectives. A couple of attack bikes. Multi-meltas are good in... Multi-meltas are good in general. Even better on the smaller table. Easier to get them in with half range. Fight on death, only one Lorenzo can be in the chat. Well, you're here, so I guess the other guy gets a pass. A couple of Infernal Pistols helps break the Sanguinary Guard out of combat if they ever get stuck in. 4 swords to sort of 2 axes is a ratio I like. Thunderhammers on the Death Company is good as well. I don't like Plasma Pistols because I don't think you can fire them very effectively on high power. I do like the Power Sword and the Salt Intercessor Sergeant, but I think you would be better just with going a squad of Incursors, because that I think a squad of Incursors here is going to give you so much potential board control, because you have 3 units that can steal positions now, 2 squads of Eliminators, the 1 squad of Incursors. You can sort of dictate how the map starts. Hey, I think Lorenzo is in chat. Hello, we are too. Alright, you guys, we need a fight here. Lorenzo I versus Lorenzo S. Yeah, so Incursors would be better here. And then Armor Indomitus is going to be better here, because although you don't get +1 toughness, you do still get the 2-up save, and you get that 1 phase of 3-up invulnerable. And 3-up invulnerable has saved my chapter master more times than I care to admit. I think it's brilliant if you want to Angel Sacrifice, so that's what I would change here. So for the most part, Squad of Incursors instead of the Assault Intercessors, Armor Indomitus instead of Angel's Artifice, and I think everything else in this list is really good. The only other potential thing to think about changing would be like if you want to run the 2 attack bikes as 2 individual units, so you don't, so that like if the enemy decides to shoot at them, the damage doesn't spill over. But I guess the advantage of running them as 1 unit means if one's dead, you could pay a CP with a priest to resurrect one, right? So it's like there's advantages and disadvantages to both ways. When I used to play the attack bikes, I liked them as a big squad because obviously you can res them, but I also liked them as individual units because with a 14-inch move, it's very easy to get within half range. If you're within half range, that multi-melt is D6 plus 2. Really, you only need 1 shot to go through, and you're killing characters in other sorts of things. Like Redemptors, you want 2 Lorenzos in your chat in case the enemy tries to focus them down. Yeah, there's 2 Jameses in the chat as well. And that's confused me in the past. So yeah, Armor Indomitus also gives the +1 wound. Yeah, so it gives you +1 wound and the 2+ save. You don't get the +1 toughness, but you do get 1 phase of a 3-up invulnerable. And remember, with Armor Indomitus, you don't have to turn on the 3-up invulnerable till you know the number of saves you need to make. So it can be really powerful. You can get all the way through to the point where the enemy's rolled all their damage and wounds, and you can go, do you know what, I just have to take 1 save. I'm not going to activate Armor Indomitus this time. In the end, there can only be 1. Wow. Yes, it's definitely double. Yeah, it's double trouble tonight. Okay, all right. So this is a decent 1,000-point list. I mean, you only get 2 elite slots and a patrol detachment, so you're pretty much gonna run 1 Death Company, 1 Sanguinary Guard, or 2 of either. So yeah, I think this is probably something very similar to what I would run in 1,000 points. I'm wondering if I would run double character in 1,000 points, but I guess on the smaller map, you kind of need to have the priest. We now know how much value that priest gives in turn 1. With Assault Doctrine on the Death Company and arguably on other units as well. So I think this is a good 1,000-point list. I might be tempted to run Dante here on 1,000 points just because it's going to help with CP a lot. If you did run Dante, you could probably like Rites of War on this priest. I think that might be better. Because then in 1,000 points, the opponent's maybe not going to have much OBSEC. This is going to give you the ability to get OBSEC, and you're maybe going to be able to use that to your advantage with all your other units, I guess. It's something that's interesting that I didn't know, or I kind of slipped my mind until recently, and maybe I just need to vocalize this so you guys are aware of it. In a lot of the chapter-approved missions, the new missions, they often have like the one where you set up the bombs, for example. It usually has wording to the effect where it says like 1 unit from your army can do this action. If they're OBSEC, it finishes at the end of your turn. If they're not OBSEC, it finishes in the command phase of the beginning of your next turn, right? So if you daisy chain Rights of War to a unit and they perform that action, then they'll do it in your turn, even though potentially, because I was never really. Normally, you just think to yourself, like, oh, I need to perform this action with a troops unit because they are by de facto OBSEC, right? Like, I'm going to perform Octarius data with, or Nephilim data with Incursors because they're OBSEC. Well, if your Sanguinary Guard are standing next to your priest and he's Rights of War, then they're OBSEC too. So then they're essentially not having to take that, like, when you roll the dice for Nephilim data, it's -1 if you're not OBSEC. Well, your Sanguinary Guard are OBSEC now, right? Because they're standing next to your priest. So that's kind of valuable as well, and I had never really thought about it that way until it happened recently, and I was like, wow, okay, it's not about troops, it's about OBSEC, and you need to remember that. Riziel thinks Dante is even stronger in 1k than 2k. Yeah, I think so as well. Alright, we are on to list number 5 for tonight, and there has been a lot of army lists submitted this week, actually, because I've had a lot of new subscribers and members this week. But the priest needs to be within 6 of one model within the unit, yes, to make them OBSEC, yeah. So you can daisy chain it, remember? So you could have one model here that's OBSEC within 6 of the priest, and then they could be strung out in a line. So potentially your priest could give you OBSEC almost like, if you think of a 5-man squad, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, and each base is like 1.5 inches. So if you had 5 guys, 5 times 1.5, that's 7, plus the coherency, that's another 8. So your priest could potentially be giving you OBSEC on an objective like 20 inches away if you're pretty smart with your movement, right? Because a 5-man unit doesn't, it's just 2 inches between each model. I have a tape measure right here, actually, because I was trying to do a bit of tidying earlier. If we grab like a Death Company guy and we just check, yeah, they're like their base is like 1.25 inches. So 5 times 1.25 inches is like 6.25 plus the 8 inches of coherency. That's 14.25 within 6 of the priest. So yeah, your priest can give you OBSEC 20 inches away essentially, if you're smart. Thanks for the Discord invite. Yeah, you're most welcome. Please come in, and we do have a members only room in Discord. If you're looking at live chat right now, you'll see a bunch of people with green names. These are channel members. They are supporting the channel on Patreon or on the big join button underneath YouTube. Super appreciated. If you do enjoy the content we put out in every week, you can join the channel for as little as, like, I think it's $1.99 on Patreon. Maybe it's $2.99. I don't remember. I was gonna say I don't remember my membership fees. $2.50, so cheaper than a cup of Starbucks, I guess. I'm aiming to get. This is an old one. I'm aiming to get 50 patrons in 2021. I guess I didn't quite get there. Cool. And there we go, Mark. Thank you so much for joining. I do really appreciate that. Please also feel free to submit a list into the ARM. Submit a list on the community tab, and we'll get it on the show. It seems like just a few weeks ago we hit 10,000. I think it was a couple of months, Jacob. I think I'm making like between 200 and 300 subs a month at the moment, so it's still growing. I have no idea how many more Blood Angels players still need to find out of the channel, but I mean, I'm here every week, so lots going on. I think I'm only going to get to like 2 more tournaments in 2022. My son is 7 months old and he's still like an absolute handful. But I think in 2023 I would like to get to a few more events, like maybe like 5 or more. We'll see. And I would like to really win an event in 2023 because I've been close the last couple of attempts. Mark makes fun of me every week on the Three Grots podcast about getting to the top tables and then not winning the event. So next year I'm going to win an event, I promise you. I'm going to try my damnedest. Okay. Grim Scion Reign, I guess, is our final. £2 for morning pudding and beans with tomato sauce. Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I should have named the Patreon tier. I was like, you're going to get a couple of sausages with ketchup on them. You keep seeing my name pop up on Reddit. I mean, I'm just trying to make helpful videos, Jacob. That's what we're trying to do, right? And most of the time I make videos that makes me think about my choices as well, right? Like, we talked a lot about like the units that can buff Death Company, but it wasn't until this week I realized, like, oh my god, the Sanguinary Priest is by far the best unit for buffing Death Company, right? Alright, so Grim Scion. Hello, Blood Angels Commander. I'm looking to make my Blood Angel a bit more competitive. I'd love to get some advice on my list. My local meta contains a lot of Knights, some Death Guard, and other Space Marines for the most part. Okay, so it's a Grand Tournament list. He's at 1990 points. I always feel like when people submit lists, like, there's always a way to get those last 10 points spent. Get some Infernal Pistols in there. Get some Power Swords. Surely there's a way of doing it. Okay, we got Dante, who is our Warlord. So that's giving us +1 CP. We've got a Sanguinary Priest with Rites of War. And as we just mentioned, he's really useful for getting you OBSEC all over the board. There is one other YouTuber I'm aware of, James, that's focused on one faction. And he is called The Red Path. And he does World Eaters. And he's got 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers. He seems like a really nice guy. I've watched a couple of his videos. I've said hello to him. I don't know if anyone else is doing just one faction. You heard it first. I don't think I'll ever be top ITC, but I'll play a few events, hopefully, and maybe get somewhere. My performance at tournaments is always pretty good, right? Like, I play until the last man. I usually score really reasonably well. I usually build my list around secondaries as well, which I think is really important for tournaments. Like, if you have a list that you already know going into the event, right? Like, I can score 2 secondaries every game pretty reliably, then that's going to help a lot, right? For troops, we have 2 infiltrator squads and a squad of intercessors, and straight away here we could put a power sword on the sergeant. I don't know if because this list's made in the GW app, you can take a chainsword for free on him. If you haven't got him on there already, you should totally do that. We have I also feel double infiltrators, I'm not sure they're needed. I used to run double infiltrators when I had something to protect, like a super heavy tank. If you're just having units defend your backfield, you could probably get away with 1 squad of infiltrators. That bubble of 12 inches of deep strike denial they give is huge. So I'd probably swap one of these out for a squad of incursors. And I actually think that, like, he's just running 7 intercessors because those are the models that he has. So I'd probably, if this was me, I'd buy another box of infiltrators and I'd make 2 5-man squads of incursors. Double incursor and double incursor +1 for troops is the best Blood Angels options. So double incursor plus an assault intercessor, or double incursor plus an infiltrators. I think that's all totally fine. For Death Company, we have the 1 infernal pistol and 4 hammers. I think that's great. For Redemptors, we have double Redemptor with the rocket pods, the macros, and onslaughts, and that's exactly what I'm running at the moment. The 5 Death Company with the double Redemptor. Double Redemptor works generally pretty well. They've had a boost from Armor of Contempt. The plasma is still really nice because it's -4. So even into enemy Armor of Contempt, it's very reliable. We then have 2, and I think these are 6-man Sanguinary Guard squads with 1 Infernal Pistol and 1 Power Fist. I think those are both fine, actually. I'd go a little bit heavier on the swords, but I guess 3 swords, 2 axes, 1 Power Fist is kind of fine. I think probably here I would run 4 swords, 2 axes, and then double Infernal Pistol. The Power Fist is like an edge pick. It's only going to be very good against something like Ramshackle Orcs or something that doesn't come up like a whole heap of times. Most of the other single faction creators are smaller, says Rezio. I mean, if you ever see single faction creators, Michael, thanks so much for watching tonight. ping me a message or let us know in Discord, and I'll follow them because it's a hard life being a single faction creator. I'm gonna just put my daughter back to bed 1 second. Right, sorry. Yeah, so the power fist to me feels pretty edgy because you're gonna wound with your wound roll is typically gonna be one better, but your hit roll is typically gonna be one worse. So I guess power fist has got maybe a slight advantage if you have like hits on rerolls, but overall I don't think it's that great a pick. You got a couple of attack bikes with multi meltas. Again, this comes back to what I just said about the previous list, in that like there can be an advantage in running them as a double, based on if you have the priest and you're going to revive them. But it can also be a disadvantage, and then you've got 5 eradicators with the heavy melter rifles and a multi melter on here as well. Okay. Thoughts on tactical marines to hold backfield with a whirlwind to save on points? Well, here's the thing, James. Let's say you had a tactical squad in the backfield with a whirlwind, and that's 90 points, compared to like an incursor squad that's 105, 15 points more. Thing is, once you're sure your backfield's safe, you can pay 1 CP to guerrilla tactics that infiltrator squad, bring them down pretty much anywhere else. And you're probably going to be able to score points. So I feel like I just prefer the flexibility that gives me, because they're in your backfield so deep, they're usually going to be pretty safe. So you're going to have a 5-man squad of incursors that are going to be able to come back in turns like 2, 3, 4, or 5 whenever you need them. And they're going to basically guarantee maybe like behind enemy lines or retrieving Akman data or something. I think that's more valuable than saving 15 points with the tacticals. Heavy metal rifle eradicators for me are double-edged sword. If the enemy is going to come towards you, like it's an orc army and it's full of dreadnoughts or something, and they're going to have to get up in your face, then arguably heavy melter rifle eradicators are brilliant because the d6 plus 2 or the d6 plus 4 damage. If you have to move up and try and find firing arcs in like dense terrain and stuff, then I dislike them a lot. And there are some things like that will kill these guys pretty reliably. Like when I played against Tyranids at that tournament, they had the. I'm gonna have to think for a minute. I know the name of it. It's gonna be like a heavy support thing. The Exocrine, right? So they have the bioplasmic cannon that's 36-inch range, so they outrange your eradicators. It's heavy D3 plus 6 shots, so minimum 7, average 8 shots. Their strength 8, their AP minus 4, their 3 damage. So eradicators are only saving against this on 6s. It's 8 shots, it's hitting on 3s, so that's like 5 or 6 wounds. They're wounding on 3s, so that's like 3 or 4. So you need 3 or 4 6s, and each fail is a dead eradicator. Eradicators cost what? 45 points a model? Yeah, 45 points a model. That's a lot of points to lose from one round of firing that outranges you by 12 inches. I don't know if there's stratagems that the Tyranids can play on this that makes it more reliable or better, but yeah, eradicators for me are kind of in a weird position where, like, on paper, you think to yourself, like, they look really good. They're toughness 5. They're reasonably mobile. They have really good damage, but you know, really they're just a toughness 5 marine that can die pretty quickly, and they're pretty expensive. Aren't heavy metal rifles mathematically better than assault? even if you account for the -1 to hit for moving. I mean, they are, but the problem is if you assault, then you might not be in range to shoot anything, right? And if you, well, yeah, I mean, like if you just move 5 inches and you're not in range, you're not in range. So that's the way I look at heavy melta rifle eradicators. If you miss, if you can't shoot for like a turn or 2 turns because you're not in range, then your assaults are arguably going to be better, right? Because you've had 2 extra rounds of shooting potentially. I have 6 eradicators, and I've tried to run them in various combinations. I've run 2 squads of 3 with regulars. I've run 2 squads of 3 with heavy melta rifles. I've run single squads. I think they're a decent unit. I just don't know if they ever feel optimal. Like, I tended to run them because they were cheap, but like, if I think back to all the games I've used them in, like, have they ever been as effective as my attack bikes? Probably not. Have they ever been my MVP unit? Probably not. I think there was one game where I ran double heavy melta rifles against an orc player, and the orc player charged me with everything. And yeah, that was the one game they were MVP. In a bunch of other games, I've tried. I think I played Sisters of Battle with heavy melta rifles, and I spent like 2 or 3 turns trying to get them into positions to get lines of fires, and they ended up doing not that much work, and then they would get charged or something because I'm trying to move them forward to get in range. But statistically, the damage output from the heavy melt is brilliant. It's just I think that although the damage output is brilliant, what Rezio just said, like it's just so difficult to it can be it's too difficult to maneuver them. 5 inches just feels so crap. Um, um, yeah. So hold on. Let me look at this list again. Dante and the priest. That's good. Double infiltrator and cursor. I'd swap, like I said, I'd swap that out for something. Double infiltrator and intercessor. I'd swap some of those out for incursors. Double redemptor is fine. The death company is good. The sanguinary guard is good. The attack bites is good. I think you probably have to play these heavy melta rifles and make that decision for yourself. If you feel like you can get value out of them, if you can position them well enough that you always feel like you're shooting them most of the game and they're surviving, great. My experience with them is I've really struggled, I feel, to get the most out of them. Whereas Danny's saying attack bikes are almost always better, and I feel like when I haven't played my 3 attack bikes now for a while. I don't think I've not played them since Armor of Contempt. I probably should play them now that I'm running the Sanguinary Priest, but I am running the Selfless Healer, so maybe I mean maybe I should just give the attack bikes a run out. I mean it's a high value revive if you revive an attack bike that costs 60 points, sorry. Uh, but the thing about attack bikes is, you know, it's very easy to throw them. Like they move 14, so you can get within half range very easily. Then you're doing d6+2. You also have Stormbolters on there. You also have more wounds. You're also potentially going to be able to do stuff like behind enemy lines as well because you can just move so fast. I don't know if I ever feel like I want to try and run 5 eradicators myself, but what I see in this list is you've got 2 more elite slots. Oh no, you've got 1 more elite slot. Sorry, and elites are arguably the best thing for Blood Angels. We always talk about like it being so difficult to build a Blood Angels list because all our stuff is elites. I would add a 3rd elite squad here. With double redemptor, if you just want something to sit in the backfield and hold an objective, you could either do a whirlwind or you could do a eliminator squad with like those Lars Fusel eliminators. That would give you something that can hold the backfield and that would give you a bunch of points to spend elsewhere on I guess either more Sangre Guard or a small assault squad or something else that can perform actions. And do you know what? You could fit like a Terminator squad or a third Sangre Guard in here easily if you dropped some of these troop choices into incursors. That would free up like 50, 60 points. If you took a squad of eradicators there, you've got about 250 points. So you could run a giant, another large death company, or a Terminator squad. This is where eliminators would be more viable over eradicators in my current meta. Yeah, I mean, you could even run 2 squads of those eliminators with using the concealed positions to hold objectives from the start, and then giving you the 36-inch las fusils. That eradicator squad can get 2 times multi-melt attack bikes plus the whirlwind. Oh yeah, that's true. So you get 2 more attack bikes, and then you can get a whirlwind, which I think is just better. Like I said, my experience with heavy melta rifles, if it's an army you need to go into, and it's an army that's got a lot of good range, like if they're happy to sit 30, 36 inches away from you and shoot at you, then your heavy melta eradicators aren't going to do that much work. Okay. I think that is about it for today's list. And oh, you had 10 points left over. So 10 points left over. Yeah, I think the main thing I would say is like, I mean, if you've got 10 points left over, get some more Infernal Pistols in your Sangre Guard to spend up the rest of your points. But like, I think I often say to people, play your lists and then watch back what I said and then make changes. And that's probably what I would say is like, if you're set on them, play them a few times, watch it back, or review it, or think about your list, and then maybe consider some of the stuff that I had made changes. Too many points in the Intercessor squad. Yeah, I touched on that as well, Highland Phoenix. I think it's probably because he said he was just starting Blood Angels, and I think it's just the models that he had. Smack the like button if you did enjoy today's stream. Much appreciated for reminding me to say that, JT Money. I hope you guys all have a really nice weekend. As I said, there's quite a lot of content coming out on both channels in the next week. Both Blood Angels Commander and the 3 Grots. I'd appreciate if anyone hasn't subscribed to the 3 Grots yet, they consider doing that. And next week's show is the show that is going to be pre-recorded. So next week's Army List show won't be live. It's going to be pre-recorded next week. So if anyone submits a list this week, it will be on the 14th, just so you're aware. And we aren't live on Wednesday this week either, because I'm going out of town for a few days to a wedding and stuff like that. So enjoy your week. I've got content coming out as normal though, so there'll definitely be videos, so stay tuned. And I've got my Battle Ready Sangre Guard video coming out as well, which I spent a lot of time working on. So if you enjoy those videos, I'd love for you to subscribe to them, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. I'll see you in a couple of days, and if you haven't yet joined the Discord, do that as well. It's the mods getting roasted next week on the Army List show, yeah. So you come along, you'll have a laugh as we roast Rezio's list. I mean, I actually don't know how much of a roast it is, because all the mods made pretty good lists, but that's what the thumbnail is going to say anyway. So enjoy your week, guys. Thanks again for watching. Good night. Peace. You are going to be roasted, Rezio, as best as we can.